A really helpful tool when working with characters is to keep doing test renders as you progress. I've done this a fair few times just while working on this character here, just to really figure out how I could take it further. So I just did this. I brought everything into Modo using the techniques I described in other videos, such as exporting out displacement maps and polypainting maps. And it looks like this. And it looks fine. This is a very quick setup, but I test out various elements. I test out the look dev, or the shading, and I test out some lighting, and I also test out the overall look of the character. Is this a direction I can keep going in? And I think this looks pretty alright for a quick test, but there is a huge problem here. It's really boring. That's simply because it's just a character looking straight ahead. There is no emotion in his eyes. There's nothing actually going on here. So we need to tell a bit of story with the character. The way we tell a story is through facial expressions. You can also tell it through environments and all that, but we don't have that to play with. We only have a face, which means we have to use the tool available, which is facial expression. The way I do facial expressions is I gather a lot of reference. First, I just gather a general reference from the internet. Like, what direction do I want to go in? Should he be sad, angry, and all that? Then I take a lot of really embarrassing photos using my phone. Just go crazy with this. Go into the room where nobody's looking. Take a lot of selfies, and just figure out what direction you want to take it in. The best reference you can have is real world reference, and by using your own face as reference, you can really source reality in a direct way. It's not a doctored photo found online, which, you know, somebody has perfect lighting in and like they have like a really false expression on their face. You know, you can really make some nice genuine expressions on your face, and just make sure you take photos of that. I also have a mirror on the side of my desk here as well, which is extremely useful. So the method we're going to use for this is, we're going for the actual posing, is going to be something under C plugin and Transpose Master. Transpose Master is beautiful and horrible at the same time. It's beautiful in the way that if it works, it's wonderful. The problem is a lot of times it doesn't work. For instance, with this character here, it's not going to work. The reason is because we have hidden geometry. So just go through every single subtool and just make sure there are no hidden pieces. So I'll just do this methodically. So first subtool, hit Control, Shift, and just click in the canvas. Next one, click. And the problem here is that servers won't tell you that it's not going to work until it's too late. So what you might end up with is, you might spend like an hour or 2 hours posting a character up, and then suddenly it doesn't work. That's a huge, huge annoyance for you. So just be aware that Transpose Master may not work for you at all. If you want to do this in a proper way, I would suggest rigging the character. I do this a lot as well. I don't actually rig, I wouldn't rig this because this is so simple. But if you're doing like a full on character, like if you have a quadruped or like a human or anything like that, like full body, I would definitely spend some time rigging it, as you have so much more control over it. I don't necessarily mean a facial rig, because here you can just push and pull it. But in terms of like body weight, if you want to shift the weight of the hips around, just having a rig is really advantageous. So the way we work with Transpose Master is, first, make sure there are no hidden pieces, which we just did. Then we just hit this button here, T-Pose Mesh. So the C plugin, Transpose Master, and click this button here. It's essentially going to take every single subtool to the lowest level and merge it together. And then it's going to, once we hit this button here again, it's going to separate it out and morph the pieces, the high-res pieces, in onto the post versions. If that makes any sense. I'll show you what I mean. I'm just going to do a quick test here. I'll just show you real quick the entire process, and then I'll do it properly in a time-lapse video, where I look at all my embarrassing photos. If you hold down the Control key, you get up masking. So I'm going to mask this entire region out. But I'm not going to use, I'm not going to paint it, I'm going to use the lasso tool. So if you hold the Control key and you hit on the stroke on here, you can use the lasso tool. The lasso tool is really useful, because now you can do this, and now you have a pretty good mask of the face, or the head rather. And hit the Control key to blur the mask. And now you can simply just rotate stuff around using the transpose lines here. So select the rotate tool by hitting the R key, drag out a transpose line. If you hold down the shift key, it's going to give you a straight line. Just make sure you're already snapped the view. So snap the view by holding the shift key. And then we hold down shift key and drag a transpose line. And just go to the side view and front view and just make sure it's matched up like this. And now we can just rotate the character up a little bit like this. I'm not going to do a whole lot here. I'm just going to rotate the head around a little bit. Same thing here. Just take the head forward. And then a slight rotation to it as well. As a pro tip as well, you can see something I'm messing up here is the rotation point is under his jaw. Well, in reality, it would be something like here. So when doing any kind of posing, make sure the rotation point or joint placement if you're rigging is where it would be in real life. Because otherwise you get weird deformation. Let's say I do this, it looks all right. It's still probably a bit further back here. So now it deforms pretty all right. But if you put it here, it deforms in a really, really weird manner. Done. So I will probably just do something like this. I'll redo this in timeless video, as I said, because then I can really concentrate and look at the reference. But let's say you're done with this. Now we can, beautiful. Now you can just hit the T-pose mesh, or T-pose to subtool button. Make sure you clear all masks, and just click it. And I was going to go through every single subtool and apply the transformation. And it worked perfectly this time. A lot of times, it does not work perfectly. So you can see we now have a wonderful pose here. Very nice. Obviously, this is, test version, but you can do a lot of cool stuff with this. So you can pose it around really quickly without having to actually rig the model, which is really nice. And this is beyond freaky to look at. And if you want to undo this, you just have to go to each subtool, like this. Alt-click on the subtool to change between subtools. And then just hit Control-C. Hit Control-C, I think, 3 times per subtool. And you should be good. I'll just explain real quickly why we didn't just rotate the various pieces around. Because we could, of course, just go to this one. Go to the shirt and rotate this around. And then we can go to the head and we can rotate this around. But the problem is you can't mask across subtools. So if you want to move the head down now, see what happens. This is annoying. Now we're going to have to go into every single subtool and match it up. The problem is you're not going to be able to match it up accurately. You could do it like in an alright job, but it's not going to be 100%. And for the hair, it's probably going to be fine. But if you're doing something like your eyes, you can't. You need 100% accuracy. You can't wing eyes. If you screw up the eyes, the entire character will not work. So it's really subtle things which can make or break the character. So with this said, we're going to move into a time-lapse video of this. Just a quick refresher. Make sure everything is visible. No hidden geometry, because it's going to not work. Then we go to C plugin, Transpose Master, T-pose mesh. We do all our transformation there using the lasso tool. The mask tool with the lasso stroke. So we can do this. Then we hit the button to the right of it, which is C plugin, and this guy here, T-pose to subtool. And then in theory, it should work perfectly. Before spending hours posing a character, try it out first. Do a quick silly test like I did here. Bring it in. Bring it into Transpose Master, do a quick test, and bring it out again. Because if it works this time, it's going to work every time. So as we just talked about, we're going to bring this into Transpose Master and just do like a really, really quick head rotation from here.
Transpose Master can just be the devil, or it can be amazing. By the way, I'm back.
Yeah.
I'm
Hello, Martin.
Here once again, joining in.
Can't get rid of him. I tried, but guys, he's just here.
Too important.
So by doing this is very subtle. It's literally just a head rotation, but it's a very powerful powerful little tool, but just to posting all this.
Because it adds so much character.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Just a little bit of shoulder shrug and just a little bit of rotation can completely... It just gives it life.
Yeah, because if he's completely straightforward, or facing just a straightforward, and there's no rotation, it will look dead. Even if you're going for that look, you know, you're going for some kind
Going for the dead look.
Yeah, but yeah, let's say you are going for that look. You know, it's not even like dead. It's sterile.
Yeah,
you know,
but
if you
there will always be some movement. No one is ever like completely straight, completely still. It just doesn't happen.
So what you can do is you can use a theory here, which is essentially the theory of using opposites here. So the head is facing one way, the shoulders are going another way, the eyes are going another way, hips are going another way. You're just tilting stuff different ways.
It's just a really nice way of making visual interest.
Yeah.
Because every time you start rotate or you reverse the rotation, it's sort of like a break for your eyes. Your eyes automatically go like, whoops, something's happening here. The shape is changing.
So this is something you can research. It's called contrapose, or just counterpose.
Contrapposta.
Yes,
like be really fancy.
Yeah, that's like a Italian sculpting principle from like back in the days, and it just means that, as we just talked about, if the head goes to the left, the body or the shoulders goes to the right. It's very simple, but it's very efficient.
It's really nice to keep in mind, and it really like it gives a lot of life to everything you do.
Yeah, even if it's subtle. You know, you don't have to use this for everything, of course.
It's like 90 degrees, the body's twisted, and the head is like, it's not like that. It's just keep it in mind and do it in a subtle way.
And don't have the eyes facing directly forward when it comes to the head. Just, you know, have some, like, have the eyes look slightly out of, you know, unless you're going for like 1,000-yard stare or something like that, you just have them tilt or rotate slightly to the left or right.
Yeah, but when you think about it, if you think about where you look all the time and how you look, you're never like completely straight with your head and your eyes are just completely, you know, focusing straight ahead. It's always like your head is rotated, but your eyes are looking in a different direction.
Yeah. Like pretty much always, unless you're going for something specific.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, for every rule, there is like an exception.
Going for dead CG character, then that's definitely the way you want to go.
Yeah, you know, if you want to do that, then that's perfect. Keep doing what you're doing. And eyebrows.
Yeah.
We totally forgot to do those earlier on. But
we meant to leave it for now.
Oh yeah, that was a good idea. Yeah, I would do eyebrows earlier. I just totally forgot because and the reason the way I discovered this is because I was doing a test render, like I was talking about earlier. Do test renders, because then you know you can discover these things.
You're like, oh my god, he looks like a weird celebrity. What happened? Oh, eyebrows.
Oh, I forgot the eyebrows.
No, they make a big difference, and one of the things is that especially on characters with sort of darker hair, the eyebrows are it helps with expression so much because it just focuses the face, right? Yeah. It's just like, because there's so much contrast in like skin versus hair, and especially if it's darker, then you're just like, whoa, eyebrows. Maybe you don't react like that to it, but
no, I usually do it on the street.
Yeah,
I'm like a dog.
What's this?
Eyebrows. Oh. But so when you're posing here, we're not just actually posing the model as well. We're doing a lot of different things. We're adding asymmetry to him. We're doing a lot of different things. For instance, if he's moving one of his if he's moving one side of the mouth up to do like a sneer, you would modify the nose, and you would modify like the brow and everything. You would do the complete expression. You wouldn't just do one thing.
No. And that sort of ties into what we talked about earlier as well. You can't have a smile with just the mouth.
No.
Like, as soon as you start moving your mouth, everything else starts moving.
Yeah,
because all the not all the muscles are connected in the face, but a lot of muscles pull in the same places. And they displace the skin, the fat in the face. So everything just moves around.
And when doing this, please keep a mirror next to your desk. Just, say it's for your makeup or something like that, and just...
even if you don't look like a dead old necromancer, it still helps you to sort of translate whatever you see in the mirror to your character.
And if you do look like an old dead necromancer, I mean, that's perfect.
Please send us pictures.
Just please send us a lot of pictures.
We need it for reference.
Yeah. But, like, that's if you... In visual effects, you have a lot of guys doing blend shapes for characters, and that's pretty much what they do, at least the more hardcore ones. And they just have mirrors and that's what they do. They just look at themselves in the mirror.
It's not good for your ego to be a blend shape artist.
Unless you're an ugly one. But yeah, very useful to have a mirror, because then you get real-time feedback. Doing facial expressions without a mirror is, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but you can only get like so far.
But it's like anything. Doing anything without reference, you can only get to, I don't know, 60%. Maybe 80%.
Did you mention that yet? A reference? Yeah. Use reference, guys.
We've talked about it a little bit.
Yeah. Somebody should just count how many times we talked about that and email us.
Oh man, I love that.
But yeah, reference for everything. But that said, don't get locked down by reference. Reference is there to set you free.
Yeah.
It's not there to limit you. You take what you can from the reference, and then you use your creativity for the rest.
Because it's important to it's a lot of these things might seem contradictory when we say them, but it's important to not be a slave to your reference.
Yeah, exactly.
Because your reference is there to help you.
Yeah.
Your reference is there to help you realize your vision.
It's a tool.
And sure, we might not be able to find reference of this perfect man that's it looks exactly like this, but you gather 60 reference images, and then you combine all of that into your vision of a character and what you need.
Yeah, exactly. It's essentially like a huge photo bashing thing in your mind.
And if your mind can't hold all of that, just do it in Photoshop.
Yeah, you can also do it in Photoshop.
Yeah,
I personally do all concept art in my mind. It's a bit hard, talk to directors, but it's...
You try to describe them. What does it look like?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's like the spaceship, and then this...
I usually just describe it in hex colors.
For each pixel.
Yeah. So here we're just fixing deformation as well. And just spend time on this. Like this, you don't need, if this is a still image, you don't need a character which works in all shots, Once we're going to talk more about this later on in lighting, but once you're doing shots, it's like a fair game, It's like, just go crazy. Whatever works at this point here, just cheat, Just... We
do so much cheating when it comes to still images.
Yeah.
There's so much stuff that we paint, and it's just a lot of stuff that actually goes on in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Because it's in the end, what matters, unless you're doing a full render that's moving, is does it look nice?
Yeah, exactly.
And
you probably shouldn't cheat it if this is moving. If this is a full-on animated sequence.
Yeah, painting that in Photoshop is not going to be...
No, frame for frame is a bit overkill. But, if you're doing stuff with still images, whatever works. I mean, that said, this tutorial is, like we said, this is about a professional pipeline. So while we say cheat all the time, what we're going through here, what we're going through in pretty much all chapters here is a professional workflow. The build up and how to extract displacement maps, all that kind of stuff is legit. And then this kind of stuff here as well, you could totally bring in the lowest level here and use this as a blend shape. When you're working in a production and you're doing blend shapes or morph targets, whatever they're called morph targets in Modo. I'm just so destroyed by Maya, so I keep referring to it as blend shapes. But yeah, if you're doing morph targets or blend shapes and all that kind of stuff, you would do it in ZBrush. You could use ZBrush at least. A lot of guys use ZBrush for this kind of work. So you could totally bring this here in as a blend shapes or morph target in Modo. So that's very useful. And just sneer your nose when doing this as well. Just just make the facial expression just touch your face.
I'm doing it right now. I'm sneering and I'm trying to look at the wrinkles of the
Morten
nose.
Is doing it right now. It looks really weird.
Touching my nose. No, but it's so good to do it on yourself because you realize, you sort of feel, how thick is my skin actually? Should I make it thicker on the sculpt or?
Yeah.
It's just
tactile feel is awesome, and it's funny when you see guys around you doing that. Just particularly animators when they're doing animation reference, it's amazing. They're just doing the dumbest shit, for reference.
Of course. I had a conversation with a fellow artist at Frame Store, and we were talking about the inside of the mouth of some parts, and we're trying to feel with the tongue, because how do we find reference from that? Or you look at some pictures, but it's very unclear. So you go with the tongue and feel at the roof of your mouth, and then sculpt based on what you feel with your tongue. It's really a very meta way of sculpting.
You're having some weird ass conversations in this field. But yeah, again, it looks like we're going super fast here, but that's just because this is time-lapsed. So, you know, obviously when I'm working like this, I don't sculpt this fast. I mean, not sculpt nearly as fast, but, you know. No,
But especially when you're doing shapes,
yeah.
or morph targets,
Yeah.
it's a very meticulous process, and you have to be, because all the shapes have to work together and they have to look really nice.
Yeah.
So
just don't rush this. This is just so important. Like we said before, nobody cares if you're fast. Of course, when it comes to work, you know, you need to have speed, but always quality before speed, because otherwise, you know, there's no point. So just take your time with this, chill out, do it thoroughly. If it takes you like 2 weeks to do like, you know, one step, that's fine. You're gonna have a proper piece afterwards.
And like in the end, all that matters is really like, does it look good?
Yeah.
Does it convey the feeling that you want it to convey?
Yeah.
That's the most important part.
And does it give you 250 Facebook likes?
Very
That's
important.
that's how I. Oh, you see this, Morten?
Oh god, it's another scar.
Am I adding a scar to it? Yes, I am. So Morten has given me a lot of shit for adding scars to everything.
He never learns.
I've been pretty cool in this though. You know, this is kind of like this is my present to you, Morten.
Oh, thanks. I actually didn't know before now. It's
no.
I feel all warm and fuzzy inside.
Yeah, I know.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. But there is a reason it's there.
Oh, please tell me, what's the backstory behind the scar?
So he was in a bar in Belgium in 1862, and he got in a fight.
See, this is a legit reason. Like this, okay, I can accept this scar.
I made this up on the spot. Right
legit.
No, but like if you're adding scars like this, you know, you need to have a reason for it. You know, maybe he wasn't in a bar fight, but you know, you need to have a reason. You can't just be like, so scars are kind of cool, so we're gonna add them everywhere.
And please, for the love of everything that is holy and unscarred, like if you need to have a scar across the eye, which I would urge you to never do, because literally everyone has a scar in their eye for some reason.
The character is called Scar from Lion King.
Yeah, then it's like just think about the placement and the reason, you know.
Yeah. You know, if you have a scar there, that's because something happened. And is the scar there because, you know, somebody fought you and you got cut there, or is the reason because he went to like the villain school and they were like, now we're gonna cut you to make you look like a James Bond villain, and you know, apparently it doesn't work like that. So if you're doing anything, I mean, this is something we cover a lot in our design tutorial. Buy now for only $40. We cover a lot of that kind of stuff. But please, for the love of God, if you're adding a scar, you know, they're kind of cool. But, you know, just
think about them. Think about why.
Think about why. Always think about why. Don't just add stuff to it. You know, if you're adding a scar on top of somebody's eye, you know, there must be a reason for it. You can't just you can't get away with this stuff. We will find you, and we're gonna be very disappointed.
We're like, hey, we found you. Now don't do that.
Yeah, and then we're gonna leave.
And then leave. So yeah. And with that concludes the facial expression tutorial. Oh God, yeah, that's
That's perfect.